The recent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas hangs by a thread. Hopes for a lasting peace have been dashed. Both sides had agreed to a truce in July 2023. The agreement included a prisoner exchange and the promise of humanitarian aid for Gaza. However, the ceasefire has quickly broken down. Key issues remain unresolved. Trust between the two sides is non-existent. The situation in Gaza remains highly volatile. Tensions are escalating. The risk of a return to full-blown conflict is very real. The international community watches with bated breath. The consequences of another war in Gaza would be devastating for all involved. The recent truce was always seen as fragile. It represented a pause in the fighting, rather than a genuine breakthrough. Deep-seated mistrust and unresolved issues continue to plague the relationship between Israel and Hamas. The two sides remain fundamentally divided on key issues. These include the status of Jerusalem and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. The recent breakdown of the ceasefire is a serious setback for peace efforts. It highlights the challenges of achieving a lasting resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The international community must now redouble its efforts to bring the two sides back to the negotiating table. A negotiated settlement is the only way to achieve a just and lasting peace. At the heart of the current impasse lies the Philadelphia Corridor. This narrow strip of land runs along Gaza's border with Egypt. It is a strategic location. The corridor contains the Rafah crossing, Gaza's only non-Israeli controlled exit point. Control over the corridor is a key point of contention between Israel and Hamas. Israel argues that its presence in the Philadelphia corridor is crucial for security reasons. It claims that the area is used by Hamas to smuggle weapons into Gaza. Israel has vowed to maintain its military presence in the corridor. It sees this as essential to prevent Hamas from rearming. Hamas, on the other hand, views Israel's continued presence in the Philadelphia corridor as a violation of the ceasefire agreement. They argue that it is a form of collective punishment against the people of Gaza. The corridor's closure severely restricts the movement of people and goods in and out of Gaza. The Philadelphia corridor has long been a flashpoint in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It is a symbol of the larger struggle over control and security in the region. A negotiated solution to the issue of the Philadelphia corridor is essential for achieving a lasting peace between Israel and Hamas. Israel has responded to the stalled ceasefire with a series of threats and ultimatums. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to use full force against Hamas if it does not comply with the terms of the ceasefire. He has accused Hamas of using the ceasefire to rearm and regroup. Netanyahu insists that Israel will not tolerate any further rocket fire from Gaza. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has echoed Netanyahu's tough stance. He has warned that Israel is prepared to launch a major military operation in Gaza. This time, he says, it will be different. Israel will use all means at its disposal to eradicate Hamas. These threats have been met with defiance from Hamas. The group insists that it will not be intimidated by Israel. Hamas maintains that it has a right to defend itself. The group has warned that it is prepared to respond to any Israeli aggression. The escalating rhetoric between Israel and Hamas is deeply concerning. It raises the specter of another bloody confrontation in Gaza. The international community must urge both sides to show restraint and to return to the negotiating table. Hamas finds itself at a crossroads. The group is caught between its commitment to armed resistance and the harsh realities of governing Gaza. Hamas is under immense pressure. It must balance its ideological commitments with the needs of the Palestinian people. Hamas is attempting to portray an image of strength and defiance. Its leaders have vowed to continue fighting until Israel ends its occupation of Palestinian territories. They insist that they will not be broken by Israeli aggression. However, behind this facade of defiance, Hamas is facing growing challenges. The group is struggling to cope with the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It is also facing internal divisions. Some factions within Hamas are pushing for a more pragmatic approach. They argue that the group needs to focus on improving the lives of Palestinians in Gaza. Hamas's strategy is likely to be one of calibrated response. It will seek to avoid a full-scale confrontation with Israel. At the same time, it will continue to engage in low-level violence. This will be used to maintain its image as a resistance movement. The people of Gaza are bearing the brunt of the ongoing conflict. The Strip is facing a dire humanitarian crisis. The situation has been exacerbated by the recent fighting and the ongoing blockade. The blockade has been in place for over 15 years. It has crippled Gaza's economy and pushed its population to the brink. The healthcare system in Gaza is on the verge of collapse. Hospitals are running out of essential medicines and supplies. The water and sanitation systems are in dire need of repair. This is leading to a surge in waterborne diseases. The international community has pledged millions of dollars in aid to Gaza. However, much of this aid has been blocked by Israel. Israel argues that the aid could fall into the hands of Hamas. Humanitarian organizations have criticized Israel's actions. They argue that the blockade is a form of collective punishment. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is a stain on the conscience of the world. The international community must take concrete steps to end the blockade and alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people. Egypt is playing a delicate balancing act in the latest round of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Cairo has long been a key mediator between Israel and Hamas. It is one of the few regional actors that has channels of communication with both sides. Egypt played a crucial role in brokering the recent ceasefire. It continues to work behind the scenes to try to salvage the agreement. Cairo is urging both sides to show restraint and to return to the negotiating table. However, Egypt is also facing its own domestic constraints. It is grappling with a number of economic and security challenges. Cairo is wary of alienating its close ally, the United States. The U.S. provides Egypt with billions of dollars in military and economic aid each year. Egypt is likely to continue to play a mediating role in the conflict. However, its ability to influence events is limited. A lasting solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will require the active engagement of all parties involved, including the United States. The United States finds itself caught in the crossfire of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Washington is a staunch ally of Israel. It provides the Jewish state with billions of dollars in military aid each year. The U.S. has consistently vetoed UN Security Council resolutions critical of Israel. However, the U.S. also has an interest in seeing a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The ongoing violence in the region undermines U.S. interests. It destabilizes the region and fuels anti-American sentiment. The Biden administration has pledged to revive the peace process. However, it has taken few concrete steps to do so. The administration has been reluctant to pressure Israel to make concessions. It fears that this could alienate the pro-Israel lobby in the United States. The U.S. is facing growing pressure from the international community to take a more active role in resolving the conflict. However, it remains unclear whether the Biden administration is willing to expend the political capital necessary to achieve a breakthrough. The international community has expressed deep concern over the latest escalation of violence between Israel and Hamas. The UN Security Council has held an emergency meeting to discuss the situation. However, the Council has yet to agree on a joint statement. This is due to divisions among its members. The European Union has called for an immediate ceasefire. It has urged both sides to exercise restraint. The EU has also called for the resumption of peace talks. Arab states have also condemned the violence. They have called on the international community to take action to protect the Palestinian people. The Arab League has held an emergency summit to discuss the situation. The international community is united in its call for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. However, it remains divided over how to achieve this goal. Some countries, such as the United States, believe that the focus should be on resuming peace talks. Others, such as China and Russia, have called for an end to the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories. The future of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains uncertain. The recent ceasefire has collapsed. Both sides are preparing for the possibility of renewed conflict. Hopes for a negotiated settlement remain dim. The underlying causes of the conflict remain unaddressed. These include the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the issue of settlements. As long as these issues remain unresolved, the cycle of violence is likely to continue. The international community has a responsibility to work towards a just and lasting peace in the region. This will require a concerted effort to address the root causes of the conflict. It will also require a willingness to hold all parties accountable for their actions. The path to peace will be long and difficult. However, the alternative, another devastating war, is simply unacceptable. The international community must redouble its efforts to bring about a peaceful resolution to this decades-long conflict. The future of both Palestinians and Israelis depends on it.